goblins and ghosts. I'm here to welcome you all back to my catacombs of creepiness and my cemetery of screams. My name is Purgatory, the Queen of Samhain, and here in my catacombs of creepiness, we talk all things horror, big or small. So if that's something you think you'll be into, then be sure to smash that like button down below and hit subscribe. Be sure to also follow me on all social media platforms except for Facebook at PurgatoriHorror, same name for everything just to make it simple. Anyways, I know it's been a while, had some personal issues that I've had to work through, but your Halloween queen is back and just in time for spooky season. So excited. So yeah, happy first week of Samhain. Well, we're actually going into the second week now, but this video is going to be dedicated to the first week of my 61 Days of Halloween event. For those of you who don't know what that is, well, every year I like to host something called 61 Days of Halloween. Start September 1st and go through October 31st. We either do themed weeks or in chronological order by the date the film came out. But over the years, I've discovered that it's actually a lot more fun having different themed weeks. I've actually found myself getting a lot more creative with themed weeks. I also decided to keep each week and movie a surprise this year, just to keep everyone guessing. For the first week of 61 Days of Halloween, we actually started with Vampire Week, which is something we usually always start with. I love vampire films, and I think we picked out some pretty good ones. Here is a list of the films that we did for Vampire Week. We did Nosferatu, 1922, Dracula, 1931, Renfield, 2023, Hammer's Horror of Dracula, 1958, Hammer's Dracula, Prince of Darkness, 1966, John Carpenter's Vampires, 1998, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992. For fun, we added Dracula Dead and Loving It, which came out in 1995, Fright Night 1985, The Lost Boys 1987, Interview with the Vampire 1994, Queen of the Damned 2002, and last but not least, From Dusk Till Dawn 1996. So yeah, lots of good ones. Obviously there were more, but I couldn't fit everything in there that I wanted to fit, unfortunately. I'm happy that I was able to fit so many in this time that I was, but instead of talking about 13 horror movies in one video, which would probably take an eternity, I thought it would be fun to list my top 5 favorite vampire films of all time in the spirit of Vampire Week. So let's get started. Now keep in mind two things before we get started with this. One, even though I am counting them down from number 5, these are in no particular order whatsoever. And 2, these are vampire movies that are non-Dracula centric. They are outside of the realm of Dracula, so just ordinary standalone vampire films. And if you guys want in the future, I can do a top 5 favorite Dracula movies of all time if that's something you guys would be interested in. But in the meantime, here are my top 5 favorite vampire films of all time. Number 5, John Carpenter's Vampires, 1998. To me, this is an underrated classic in my opinion. The story revolves around a gang of vampire hunters who work for the Catholic Church. Their mission is to destroy as many vampires as they can and attempt to find Valak, the vampire master, and kill him as well. When all of the vampire hunters are slaughtered by Valak at a motel party, leaving only 2 hunters alive and a female who was bitten, time to hunt down Valak and kill him was immediate. I really love this film because I love how different it is to other vampire movies. All of the vampires in this universe are psychically linked to the Master, to Valak, of course. They are basically mindless servants. They're Valak's army. Wish I could say more, but I don't want to spoil it for those of you who've never seen this film. It's just so amazing, And I know a lot of people don't like it, but I definitely like it. It's definitely one of my favorite John Carpenter films. Number 4, From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996. Now, these vampires are scary as hell. When two fugitive brothers take a family in an RV hostage in order to make it safely over the border of Mexico, they're forced to stop at a place in Mexico called the Titty Twister, which is a rowdy biker and trucker bar with dancing women and plenty of drinks to go around. It isn't until the brothers get into a fight with one of the bouncers at the Titty Twister that it's revealed that it's actually a vampire bar, and because of this, the bar's purpose is to lure truck drivers, bikers, or anyone who wouldn't be missed or at least would be hard to find in order for them to feed. Now, the family and the brothers were forced to fight their way through hordes of very hungry and bloodthirsty vampires in order to make it all the way to sunrise. This is another vampire film where the lore is just so different. And that's one of the things I love about vampires. You can do so much with them. It doesn't have to be one type of way. These vampires start out sexy and seductive, but then will rip you to shreds given half the chance to do so. And coming in at number 3, Interview with the Vampire, 1994, and The Queen of the Damned, 2002. If you're familiar with Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, then you know enough about these two films. And the reason why I put these two together is because I love both equally, and anytime I watch Interview with the Vampire 1994, I always have to throw on Queen of the Damned right after. I know they're not a lot of people's favorites, but they're very fun and nostalgic to me. I know it technically may be cheating putting them together in the same slot, but so be it. I can't have one without the other. And coming in at number 2, The Lost Boys, 1987. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. It's fun to be a vampire. Lost Boys 1987 is one of the most iconic vampire films from the 80s that I've ever seen. When Michael and Sam's mother loses everything in a divorce, they are forced to move to Santa Carla and into the house with their grandfather. You would think things would start to get better, but when Michael meets David and his punk rock friends, who also so happen to be young vampires, things take a turn for the worst. Especially when Michael is turned into a half-vampire himself. Now, little brother Sam must find a way to save his brother's soul. And you know, when I think 80s horror, this is one of the first things that pop into my head for some reason. Like, I love this film. It's so iconic, whimsical, fun, hilarious, and heartfelt all at the same time. Plus, it's got a great soundtrack. I love The Lost Boys 1987. It's one of my favorite vampire films. It's so good, and always gotta add it to 61 Days of Halloween. And last but not least, number 1, Fright Night 1985. Guys, I can't stress this enough. I love Fright Night. I know I said this list was in no particular order, so it's only coincidental that this one is at number 1, but this is my all-time favorite vampire movie. It's gory, it's funny, and just overall amazing and just super fun. I love the effects, I love Chris Sarandon, and I love Evil Eddie. He's my favorite character. Imagine that you suspect your new neighbor is a blood-sucking vampire from hell. What would you do? Honestly, I would leave him the fuck alone. I wouldn't even bother him. Or ask to be turned to a vampire myself. I love this movie. It's always the first vampire film that I will recommend to anybody. It's just so good, and I love how it's like a love letter to Hammer horror. You can see so many little nods to Hammer horror if you've seen like Horror of Dracula and all the vampire movies from back then from Hammer horror. It's just so good. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my top 5 non-Dracula-centric vampire horror films of all time to ring in spooky season. Vampire Week was a lot of fun, I have to say. And I'm a big fan of vampire films, so it's always a good time. Be sure to give me a like and subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of my new uploads, which will be more frequent this time, I promise. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at PurgatoriHorror. Saying username everywhere, like I said, is just simpler that way. And if you want to give the channel a little extra love, then be sure to sub to my Patreon. So just look at the different tiers and what they have to offer. I'm going to be switching some things up, taking some things out, organizing some things. I'm eventually going to have a link tree set up to where it shows all the places you can support my content and just make it easier. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to all of my supporters and contributors, whether you're from Patreon or another platform. I want to thank you for all your love, generosity, and support. I truly mean that. I couldn't do this without you guys. Anyways, thank you guys so much. I love you. So long. Happy Halloween season and pleasant screams.